starting off, I guess I'll go first here. I have 365 days to the wedding. So that's manga original. Japanese name is Kekkon Surutte. Hontou desu ka? And that's this also, I believe, got a live action drama adaptation before it got an anime adaptation. But the original, I believe, is a manga, and the manga story and art was both done by Wakaki Tamiki, excuse me. And for those of you who don't know who that is, but it might seem familiar, that is also the artist slash story, the writer behind The World God Only Knows, Kami no Miso Shirasakai, as well as later on, I believe now is it couple seasons a year ago, 16-bit sensation, right? That was
Yeah,
like 2 seasons ago, right? Uh, maybe three, 3 seasons
something like
ago, I
that.
think.
That
Yeah,
that's the one
wow.
with American Saber.
Yeah, exactly. The American anime or whatever it is, that timeline. Yeah. But yeah, it is Tamiki Wakaki of Aqua Plus, as well as the World God Only Knows fame. He made this, got a live action adaptation, and now a manga adaptation. Anime adaptation. The anime adaptation is headed by Ashi Productions, who has done Smartphone Isekai in Another World with My Smartphone, Makara 7, and this season they're also heading one of the series that we might be covering, which is How I Attended an All Guys Mixer, the Gokon anime. So they're kind of juggling a couple of balls this season, but they have had that experience, and they've tossed over some of the other like editing and second key animation jobs to studios like they're working with Mishima Editing Room, Jumondo, and Naz. Their staff right now for this is um, sort of a mix of so yeah, it's like a mixture of newcomers and veterans. They have some Gonzo studio connections from the director and the director's work in Akiba's Trip. So the core of this team is director Ikehata Hiroshi, who helped work on stuff like FLCL Progressive, which doesn't it's not a great start, but BEM Become Human, Akiba's Trip the Anime, Magical Destroyers, Tonikawa, and Kiratu Purichan. And he has often worked as a duo with Hyodo Kazuho, which is his sort of script writer buddy, his series composition buddy, who has worked with him a lot on a lot of these series. So he kind of got he and obviously the producer at uh Ashi Productions kind of helped gather together this motley crew of newcomers and veterans, again with some connections from their Akiba's Trip experience connection work. So they've gathered that sort of general crew here, but nothing of real like note in terms of general kind of thorough lines. The voice acting staff is, on the other hand, is pretty much all veterans compared to the art and directional staff who are it's kind of like a mixture of some newcomers and stuff like that. So with uh with the voice acting cast, we have Kumagai Kentaro and Hayami Saori doing the main lead roles. And then with the supporting cast, you have people like Koshimizu Ami, Fairu Zai, Ochiai Fukushi, Nakado Joji, Asumi Kana, Toyama Nao, Genda Tesho. These are all just either super long-time veterans or at least someone who has had major roles for a minimum, who has had, major roles in anime for a minimum of 5 years. So they're all pretty much straight up big people right now or longtime veterans. So pretty thorough, good list here for at least the voice acting end. Going over OPED real quickly, the opening I believe is Kira Kira, and this is a Honeyworks I guess music piece song, yeah, Honeyworks song, featuring Hakoniwa Lily, who is who serves as the vocals for the opening. And as of this, again, the opening ending animations for the anime haven't come out yet. But in terms of the Honeyworks thing, it's a Honeyworks song. And it's a very standard Honeyworks kind of J-pop, lighter J rock, lighter J rock. or upbeat J-rock, excuse me, song. And if you guys don't really know what I mean when I say it's a Honeyworks song, a lot of people kind of are just like, kind of know it, at least in Japan, kind of get what I mean when I would say, yeah, it's a Honeyworks song. If you check out some of their songs, they all sound very similar in terms of either BPM or in terms of just like, booting up to the major key and then just having a very um upbeat kind of song, regardless of, maybe some of the lyrics and stuff like that. But they are all kind of uh marked with a very similar brand. So whether it's something like Kaekte Gomen ne, Gomen, which is sort of, I guess, their current flagship, I would say, song right now, or whether it's something else, right? It's a lot of it's like songs about love, songs about being in a relationship, stuff like that. So there's like the heroine, right? That's another one of their openings. Heroine Tarumono, something like that. Um, so it's a very Honeyworks opening. The ED, I believe they said it was supposed to be Tsumariwa by Gohobi, but yeah, I believe who is like a general like a J-rock band, but they have not released their work yet, so I have not heard of it. So it's a little bit unfortunate. So can't give a proper review of the ED there. Overall, the audio visuals, I would say, the BGM is pretty standard. There's nothing really stand out. But visuals, the visuals, I would say, is a pretty standard, like Wakiki Tamaki character design with kind of smaller, narrower eyes and um, kind of like a smooth, like more nondescript kind of face. And it kind of reminds me of how the standard kind of, I want to say, dilution from a manga art style to a an anime art style kind of happens. So, for instance, Hisasi's stuff, artwork, right, in something like Netoge, happened from pretty often from his light novel works art to the anime original, right? Shun is another very good example, right? His Edo manga or his dojin kind of Edo dojin art was relatively detailed, and then when he was helping with the designs and stuff in Shokugeki no Soma, the anime, the art was quite diluted from the manga because of the nature of how the animation has to roll, right? The animation processes. So, in a similar manner, it's been a little bit diluted, but I think it's still okay. It's not like there's some Studio Dean crap going on, right? It's okay. The animations are not like super flashy or anything like that, or like it's not like 60 FPS kind of stuff, but most of them just them standing around talking or being in offices or petting a cat. So there's not really too much need for moving around or showing off specific animations. So it serves its purpose for the most part, the audio visuals. So the story, right? I'm just gonna go over the story real quick, the premise real quick. So everybody in the cast is in are employees in a travel agency, the JTC travel agency, and they are recently looking for people to staff their uh, branch office over in Alaska, which nobody wants to go to because it's freaking in Alaska, right?
What's wrong with
Uh,
Alaska? Alaska's pretty cool.
yeah, but living in Alaska is another business, right? But
I mean,
it's
would you? I'd live in Alaska. Looks like a
I would
cool
not
place
live
to
in
be.
Alaska.
It
Why
kind of
not?
depends on the part of Alaska and how rich you are, like
Yeah,
realistically.
if you have all the money, that's also very different, I think.
Yeah, even then,
Um,
have fun being pretty isolated.
but
Isn't
yeah,
that perfect?
well, it depends on what you. I know
So
some
you
people.
need like
Have some
food and
people.
medicine and
Yeah. Well, it's also
groceries.
I know some people who just like literally say said to me when I was working with them, I just want to go off to when I retire, I just want to go off to the middle of nowhere. I don't want to interact with people. I just want to be in my house alone. And some people like that. And some other people, like myself, I do want, convenience stores and stuff. The the advances of technology, I do want those near me for myself at least. So it's kind of different for everybody. But
What? So where would you live? In a satellite
what?
orbiting Earth?
Yeah, retiring to the
That
ISS.
sounds kick-ass.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Um, yeah. I so yeah, going back to the story. So the travel agency is looking to staff their branch office in Alaska, and because the manager says to them, okay, well, because it might be a little bit too much to ask an entire family to move, their entire family from here to Alaska, we're only going to try to push to send unmarried people over there to the branch office. So then the two people who are not married, the male character in Ohara Takuya, voiced by Kumagai Kentaro, as well as Honjo Jirika, voiced by Hayami Saori. So Ohara Takuya is sort of like a shy nerd guy with the frizzy hair and glasses, and he kind of gets pushed around by the managers, and he's like, "Oh, what do I do, boy?" He's that kind of guy. He's the pushover guy. Um,
Now,
and
are they the
then
only non-unmarried couple in the entire business, or are they
I
singling them
bel
out because they hate them?
I think in their like department or whatever, they're like the only ones that are not married. Um, So, uh, but yeah, those two. And then Honjo Jirika is a very, very, very Hayami Sao pigeonholed for pigeonholed and fitted for a Hayami Saudi character. The very like quiet, like, I'm just gonna think, I'm gonna do monologues to myself. I'm just gonna think to myself, that very like quiet kudere kind of girl, right? Um, so those two are unmarried, and they, under this sort of potential threat of getting pushed to Alaska, they decide to get married, or at least, you know, kind of put up the pretense of getting married. Um, so so they're like, okay, let's kind of set this up. Let's kind of think of how we're going to talk to everybody else about how supposedly we're going to get married and what our sort of stories are, stuff like that. But the problem is they are just about acquaintances. They're not even really friends. So they have to start from step one. So that's sort of the story of them getting to know each other from step one, and becoming from going from acquaintances to being friends to being kind of married to trying to marry each other, and kind of dealing with each other in their lives, right? Presumably. So again, this is like episode one, and from what I saw, I think it's very it's kind of similar to what I saw in something like Tonikawa, um, Over the Moon for You, right? The one written by the Hayato no Gotoku author,
Yeah.
where it's kind of similar to an after story kind of setting where they're kind of pretending to be married, they're living together, and they're kind of dealing with all the stuff that comes. And there's not that much will they, won't they, although obviously the main hurdle is, will they ultimately get properly married. But the characters, how they're set up, isn't necessarily terrible. I mean, obviously, you have the premise of, oh, he's a nerdy beta boy and all that. And it's like, and she's just a kudere who hasn't really given that much serious thought about love, and then they get to know each other. There's that sort of very relatively standard setup, but I think in terms of how they interact with each other, it's not like the main character. It's not like Ohara is like always jumping at random stuff. He's like, "Oh my god, what do I do? Oh my god, oh no, panties, boobies. Oh my god, I can't see. But oh, like it's not like they made a caricaturistic um personality. It's a very just like, yeah, he's just nerdy, or like he kind of is a pushover, but he's gotta do this. And Similarly with the Kudeta girl, Honjoji, she has her own thing. She has her monologues, but it's not like she's constantly kind of exemplifying the Kudeta vibes. It's not like she's constantly going like, you know, um, I have I have no idea what love is, so you got to teach me. It's not like some um I don't know. It's not like some Violet Evergarden shit, right? uh so I think the smoothing out, the I don't want to say muting, but the more organic gradients and nature of these personalities make the anime probably a little bit more palatable. Obviously, the biggest hurdle to watching this series is the premise, which is a little bit of a hard sell, right? Because, um, well, the premise is the main hook to a series. So I think this series, I kind of want to watch the live action or maybe read the manga original, but I feel like this series will be okay as long as it completely puts the Alaska threat or whatever on the back burner. And what I mean by that is, like, obviously they're going to kind of put it away while they focus on the couple kind of forming, but the whole potentially going to Alaska, the manager pushing for it, and any sort of developments in the anime or manga or whatever stemming from that needs to be minimal at best and should honestly be treated like a joke. Because the whole point is not really that. It's the whole like, oh, I'm a shy nerd boy, and I need to get along with this kudeta girl. So how do I do this? That's really the only point to this, and like how what it means for people to start from step 0 to all the way to becoming a couple, right? That's the whole entire thing. And it's not this whole Alaska whatever it is bullshit. That's just like bad, right? It's just railroading, right? Uh, Railroading should be done at to a minimum, right? Or should be minimized. So if they shove that to the side and focus it all on this, and then get over, I want to say the second hurdle of potentially not being repetitive of just relying on the shtick of, oh, but I'm a shy nerd guy, so what do I do on this date? If they kind of shy away from that a little bit, and try to go through the motions a little bit more, and have the guy do maybe some stuff that's potentially a little bit more bold or shows a different side of him. Something like maybe what you saw in, say, Shikimori-san, right? Where they did kind of had like different dynamics in different contexts, slightly different contexts. Obviously, they still had the shtick of Shikimori-san being the cool one, right? But there were slightly different dynamics. I think if they show those slightly different nuances, then I think it would be, and as well as better introspections and retrospections of what it means to become a developing couple, I think this series will be decent. If they kind of repeat the same shtick of, oh, I'm shy girl with kudeta, or sorry, I'm shy boy with kudeta girl going on a date. Oh my god, I'm so shy and pure. If they repeat that shtick, and also if they make the Alaska threat significant, then the series is out the window. It's no good. Um, for now, I think it's in an okay place. I'll give it a uh yeah, I'll give it a 5 out of 10. I think it's pretty much just like straight up there. I don't think the audio visuals or anything that are super like stand out. I don't think the voice direction was particularly stand out. It's very standard. Oh, hi Misari, please do a Kudeta voice. And Kumagai, please do a shy nerd boy voice. And that's pretty much it. And the other voices are very like Asumi Kana, you can hear her inflections from a mile away. And so with same with Koshimizu Ami, they're not any different. It's just their voices. And the story again is relatively average. I don't think there's anything super stand out about it. But I do think that the way the situation is set up is slightly novel, which or it forces a slightly different perspective in the whole like starting from zero, and it's not um it also doesn't come from a place of, you know, how usually a lot of these rom-com series that are like a couple starts from 0 and eventually gets to love each other. A lot of them come from, antagonistic or tsundere vibe kind of series, right? The most obvious being something like Nisekoi or whatever, right? Where they're like, huh, I'd never go out with somebody like you. And then they have to almost start from negative to, you know, becoming couple, right? Um, it doesn't start like that. I think it starts from a much milder place, which is slightly more novel to me. So that's why I wouldn't give it necessarily a lower score than 5. But I think other than that, it's all pretty much average. So pretty much straight 5 out of 10
So
for
I
me.
think the most interesting part of this IP, I guess you could say, since I'm talking about the
Mhm.
manga here, was have you seen the covers for the manga chapters?
I have not.
So what's cool about the covers for this series is that chapter, and I don't know when they did this. I mean maybe
Oh, I have
from
seen,
the
yeah, they have
get-go.
like the different like
They have the
wedding
different
dresses.
wedding attire
Oh,
from
that's cool.
different, like all different cultures. So like
Yeah,
there
the
is one
cultures,
where
yeah,
he's wearing
exactly.
like, like the, what's it called? The Shirari, I think. The like the
Hmm.
Indian, that with like the flower necklace and everything. Like that
Yeah,
stuff,
yeah, 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 yeah.
that I think is a really touch, a really fun
Yeah,
touch
yeah, they have
for
the different wedding outfits. It's yeah, I've
a
seen them
series like
now.
this.
It's really good. Yeah. Yeah, Wakaki Tamaki is very good with his art. It's like I don't think anybody will begrudge him that. I would say the only problem maybe with Wakaki Tamaki is potentially how some of his writing tends to patter out near the end. But with something like Kami no Mizu Shirasakai, which had so many chapters and so much like kind of pace changes, alterations, it was kind of inevitable. But you know, it is what it is. So I think this one is probably a very standard one to play out. So it in the manga and how the dramas, stuff like that. He probably planned it out pretty decently. I mean, there's only so much you can do, anyways. But yeah, that I think it's pretty average. Um, but I will give it a 5 out of 10. So yeah, that was my review for 365 days to the wedding, or also known as Kekkon Surutte. Hontou desu ka? This is by Wakaki Tamiki, originally, the manga writer and artist for Kami no Mizu Shirasakai, The World God Only Knows. It has been made into not only a live action drama adaptation, but now it's got an anime adaptation by Ashi Productions. Uh, so yeah, if you want to kind of watch a more mild Tamaki Wakaki romance series pan out with a very mild premise, please do check this out.